Moose Country, welcome to another episode of Let Us Be Heard.
What's up, everybody? Calling back here for another episode of Let Us Be Heard. I'll be flying solo today, as it's extremely early in the morning. I didn't want to bother anybody to come on and do this one with me. We have a good one today, though. He was a fan favorite, former Moosehead. He's still involved with hockey, just on a different level. Please help me welcome, all the way from Hong Kong, Jesse Lussier.
Jesse Lussier, how you doing, man?
What's going on, Colin? Appreciate you bringing me on the show, man. It's great to be here.
Thank you, man. Thank you for coming on. I think I already told you, you've been highly requested by fans in the barn, and anytime one of you former players come on the show, it means the world to us. Just that you would take time out of your schedule. I know you guys are busy, and just to say hi to the Moose fans, the Moose maniacs again, it honestly means the world, man. It really does.
Yeah, well, listen, I was a bit surprised to hear that, but I'm glad to see that Moose Country still remembers me. But nah, man, look, I'm happy to anything the Mooseheads, for the Mooseheads, around the team. I would love to do it. I jump at the opportunity, so I appreciate you guys reaching out, and I appreciate the fans asking for me too. So
yeah, it's funny. It started off with one, and then like literally a day later, somebody else asked, "Hey, what do you think the odds of getting Lussier on are?" And then after I reached out, two more had come up to me and said, "Hey, what about Lussier?" So you were definitely a fan favorite. I think I told you the only person who was requested more than you was Brant Blackned, the original captain for the Halifax Mooseheads. So that's an incredible honor. So you must have been loved in the building.
yeah, well, I mean, hopefully I don't let your listeners down, but yeah, I'll try my best. But like I said, it was I had an incredible time there. It was short, but it was phenomenal, and the fans and the people in town treated me so well. Even after when I was playing at Dow, just bumping into fans, and and then I got to work for the team for a little while. Everyone just takes such good care. I mean, you said it earlier, but it is kind of a family. It is kind of a family that Halifax really takes in their own. So no, this is great.
Yeah, we have a saying in the barn: once a Moose, always a Moose. And you played 5 seasons with Dow after that, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's incredible, man. So let's just walk us through your time with the Herd, and maybe what some of your favorite memories are, just to start it off.
Yeah, sure. So maybe just by a quick way of background. So I joined at 19, and before that I was playing junior A in Ontario. A few guys had kind of went that path where the Mooseheads would find some guys and they'd invite you to camp. And then for me, my agent at the time was the same agent as Mac Weegar, and he had went the year before, and obviously just had tremendous success that season, and obviously into his NHL career. So my agent kind of approached me with the same sort of, hey, you can go down there, you can try out. There's no guarantees. It was it was a bit of a risk to put your kind of NCAA jeopardy eligibility in jeopardy, but so yeah, I went down there, and fortunately enough, it wasn't an easy team to make. The year before, obviously they had the Mem Cup, and they only had lost one defenseman who was obviously a big piece, was Albertschauser.
Yep.
So I knew it was going to be a tall task, but fortunately I made the squad, and then that year was just an incredible season. And then one thing that obviously we came up a little bit short. We lost in the conference final, but I have several memories from that season, both kind of personal and then also from the team. But I think whether it's that playoff series, obviously we ended up losing it, but I still remember some of the games were just incredible. We lost to Val-d'Or. They had Mantha. They had some really high end players, but I remember one early on memory of mine. I don't even remember who we were playing, to be honest, but it was a sold out rink, and then my family was able to come down. So my brothers were there, my parents were there, my grandfather was down, and it was a sold out rink, and it was a big game, physical game. I think honestly it might have been Baie-Comeau, and we won in a shootout, and weirdly enough I scored the shootout winner in the 11th round. And just after the game, the way the Mooseheads kind of treat your family, and then obviously the fans after the game, all the autographs, and just having my family down there, and they got to see it and they got to experience it. It was that's something that we all of us kind of sit around and talk about over thinking back to those times. It was great.
So were you big on fan interaction, like in the tunnel and such and stuff like that? Because that would explain, if you were big with the fans, that would explain why you request so much.
Yeah, look, I think when I saw what the Mooseheads meant to the community, and then when I was younger, I lived in Cole Harbour for a few years. When I was I played Adam hockey, and so I kind of knew the Mooseheads and just how important they were in the community. And then obviously I'd played junior for a few years, and now as an older guy, coming in and just seeing how amazing this organization was. Like I put my hand up for a lot of different things, whether it was going to the hospitals to visit the kids or just even in warm-ups, seeing the little kids with the jerseys. Cause I used to be that little kid. So like throwing a puck over the glass or, having some fun with different kids or whatever. So I was big on that. And even just some of the goofy things that like our kind of PR media team would do. I did a lot of that stuff that year. So no, I really wanted to put a lot of effort into to make the most of it.
That's awesome, man. And you have no idea. Well, maybe you do. You're a hockey guy. That little extra thing that you do, the puck, the visits, it means the world to the community, and you're breeding the next level of hockey, like the next generation of hockey fans, hockey players. You know what I mean? So it means the world to these kids. I have 2 kids myself that I take to the games, and they love the Mooseheads, right? So in Hong Kong, in Hong Kong, you've continued that kind of thing in Hong Kong. Now, you want to tell us about what you're doing there?
Yeah, so obviously it was a bit crazy. So obviously after the Mooseheads, I went on to play at Dalhousie. So I played there for 5 years, and then I was caught in the when I was graduating uni, I was deciding between, do I want to kind of try and take a run at maybe playing in the coast, or is it time to hang them up and go get a real job? And that was the year the pandemic hit. So it kind of made the decision for you where, all the leagues had shut down. And, to be fair, I kind of had 1 foot out, 1 foot in if I should keep going. And so then I moved to Toronto to take a job, and then the job kept getting backed up. And, I wasn't sure if I was going to, have an income. So luckily enough, another former Moosehead alumni, Ben McCaskill, who I'm sure a lot of your listeners would remember,
Nice.
talk about, big. Yeah, so he had come over to Hong Kong years ago, and there's a program over here that it goes after guys who are fresh out of playing college hockey, maybe a year or two out of pro hockey. And what they do is they bring you over, they give you a visa, they give you a place to live, and they help you find a kind of a job, a regular internship, and then in return you kind of go and coach kids. And the idea is to try to grow the sport of hockey in Hong Kong. So I made a phone call to Ben and said, listen, I'm in a little bit of trouble here. Like I've got no job and no one's hiring. Obviously the pandemic had just shut the world down. And so, when most people were kind of bunkering down is during the pandemic is actually when I moved across the world to Hong Kong. So got a job here, and then obviously coaching hockey was a big part of that my first kind of year and a half. And so that's how we got to Hong Kong. And then, I stuck around out here, got another job and a great opportunity. And it is a wonderful city and a wonderful place. I'd recommend, if you have the ability to definitely try to get over here. But that's kind of how the genesis of Hong Kong came about. It was former Moosehead.
So are you still coaching the kids there? Is that something what you're still doing?
Yeah, so a little bit. Ben himself is now doing kind of a program that he's running, so I'll help him out in the summers. One thing I didn't realize is that when you start to have a day job and you're working a lot, it's you don't have as much time as you did when you were playing hockey or in uni. So I don't coach nearly as much as kind of I would like to, but I'm still loosely involved. Still play a little bit out here, and but no, it's hockey is still obviously such a big part of who I am and my identity. So, and it's pretty cool what they're able to build over here with the passion is still the same. It's obviously it's a little bit different. Some of the rinks are in 10th floors of malls, and so it's a little bit different.
Really?
But yeah, some of the rinks here are pretty crazy, and obviously it's different, but at the same time, watching the kids just whether it's learning how to skate or some kids are getting pretty good and are going over to playing prep schools. You have the same sort of impact on those kids that even when you were playing that you could have. So it was definitely an easier way to transition to moving across the world.
So you spoke about playing in the QMJHL and then to Dalhousie. What were some of the challenges you faced switching between the two leagues? The gameplay, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And did hockey prepare you? Like just a subset of that question. Did hockey prepare you for what you're doing now?
Yeah. So to answer the question of moving from the Q into university, I think about this a lot. As I was leaving kind of major junior, I was finishing in Chicoutimi at the time. We'd lost in the first round to Moncton, and I was thinking, do I again do I try going to the East Coast, at 21 to make a run at it, or do I take kind of the awesome opportunity I had for, to go to university, to get a scholarship, and things like that. So ultimately I made the decision to go to uni. But, to be honest with you, I was thinking that going into university hockey was kind of a lateral step. And I thought I was going to kind of walk in there and be a high-end defenseman and kind of walk right in and sort of dominate. And I couldn't be more wrong. I remember my first game. We were playing St. Mary's. St. Mary's on the time had an unbelievable team. I think they came third that year in nationals. And like the hockey was big, fast, mean. It was just, you were playing against men. Whereas, when you're an overager in major junior, you kind of get that veteran sort of treatment where, I say this a lot, but I think in my last 20 games in major junior, I maybe had gotten hit a few times, a few times you get kind of caught. Whereas in my first period of my first game in university hockey, I was probably hit more than my entire overager year. And it was just, everyone there was so good, that if you think about university hockey, it's all these guys who are all overagers who are just on the cusp of, do they go to kind of the AHL or do they go to uni? And this isn't just kind of, Quebec League OAs. This is all across Canada. And the caliber was just so good. Everyone was so strong. There were so many good teams in the league that year. And it's such a tight league. And there's almost no space, no decision making. And in Chicoutimi at the time, they had the big ice, they had the international ice. So the difference in caliber was it was a big wake up, and me coming in, I definitely underestimated it. And after my first game, I really sat in the room for about an hour after the game thinking, I don't know if I can make it in this league. I don't know if I can play in this league. So it was it was a big thing. It was a big change.
That's crazy. So you mentioned the fact that you feel like you got hit more. We're QMJHL is kind of going away from the physical side of it a little bit with getting rid of fighting and stuff like that. Was there fighting was there much fighting in like in uni?
In uni, it's actually, so it's similar to kind of the new rules now where there was no fights allowed. So, I mean, you get into, every now and then you'd kind of, tempers would boil over. But in terms of just two guys kind of squaring up, dropping the gloves, it maybe happened a couple times a season, but, it was a suspension. And then, depending on where you went to school, you may get a phone call from the athletic director.
Really?
So it was a little bit different of a mentality around it. But with that being said, it was extremely physical. If you think about it, all these guys are 21 to 26 years old. These are all, minor pro players. So it was extremely physical. It's very rough. But at the same time, I think, especially even as I was kind of progressing in years kind of 3, 4, and 5, you really start to, I have to go to school on Monday where it does sort of, it does kind of change. But yeah, I would say it's an extremely physical game. And a lot different. And I would imagine it's the same kind of, if you go from the Q and into the AHL and into the NHL, just the time, it gets a lot quicker. Your ability to kind of think, you have to make decisions so much faster. So it's quite the jump.
So did the Q and university hockey prepare you for what you're doing now in life? Like, do you think it contributed to your life this point in your life?
Yeah, look, I think without a question that hockey in general as a sport is a huge, it's a massive impact on who I am, who I've become. I think my time with the Mooseheads, the caliber of that organization at the time, it was Bobby Smith was the owner, and then we had Cam Russell as the general manager, Dom Ducharme as head coach. We had some amazing players on the team when I was there. We had some really good veterans. And at 19 years old, you're now in a position where you're expected to perform. You're expected to be a professional day in, day out, handle yourself accordingly. Everything you do is for the betterment of the team. And, as I've kind of progressing through my, next phase of my life and my professional life, a lot of the times that comes, for people who are new to the workforce, that takes time to learn. But I think I came in with having a strong kind of background in that. So no question, hockey, and especially with the Mooseheads and Adele as well, it really, really propelled me, and not only, helped me move on. I think it's also allowed me to maybe be ahead of where I should be, and kind of where I am now in my life. It is a critical part of my background and my identity. And I still think it's a huge part of who I am. So without a doubt, hockey and the Mooseheads have been a massive, massive impact on me.
That's amazing, man. I love hearing that. I do. You mentioned that you worked for the Moose there for a bit. Do you still keep in contact with anybody from the organization, players or employees?
Yeah, so I think when I was still, as part of my kind of university degree, I had to go through different internships at different semesters, and one of the internships I just got lucky. And again, this is just a testament to the Mooseheads, where they didn't really typically do something like this, but they sort of created a position for me. This was the year they were going into the Memorial Cup, so they had hired kind of an event manager. She was fantastic, so I was kind of working with her, working with the front office, and then I got to work kind of on the radio, doing the kind of broadcast play-by-play, which was a kind of a cool experience. So yeah, I got to do that for kind of the whole playoff run, which was a magical run that year. They came up short against Rouen in the final, and then obviously during the Mem Cup, which was just an incredible experience to watch from sort of that bird's eye view from a commentator point of view.
And
so
you're talking about
working with the team, and
you're talking about 2019, correct? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, working with the team. I apologize.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I was working with them, and then I think I went back. I think I've been back to Halifax one time, and but again, the organization's so fantastic. Like if you go back or if you reach out, they're always kind of checking in, or you'll check in on sort of the team. And obviously they've had junior hockey's classic turnover. So the players now, I'm just getting older and older than these guys. But I think from a staff point of view, like when Midge came back, I sent him a note. Some of the coaches who went on and some of the players who went on, we still kind of keep in touch, and we check in, and it's been great watching some of these guys and in their NHL careers as well. And I obviously I'm a huge supporter of Ducharme as well, so I watch him very closely where he ends up. So I think
he's
being
in
on
Vegas.
this side of the world,
He's in Vegas now. Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, that's right. So he's just down in Vegas. Yeah. So, but being on this side of the world, it's you kind of lose that day-to-day sort of coverage, I guess you could say. But high level, I think everyone's always a phone call, email away, and they'll always look out for you.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like I said at the beginning, once a Moose, always a Moose. I feel like the community's so tight that you could, Did you hear about Joe DePenta and creating the Moosehead alumni?
Yeah, so weirdly enough, this was kind of something that was sort of in the works when I was actually working with the team. They were kind of refurbishing sort of that box to have for kind of the players. So, I just as I was there, and right when that kind of internship was leaving, this was just kind of getting off the ground. So, I remember kind of what they were trying to do, what the goal was. I'd spoken to a few kind of to alumni as well. So, I wouldn't say I was in any way there building it, but I was certainly there kind of at the grassroots stage. So, again, obviously I'm quite a ways away, but it'd be great, to hear that it's doing well and guys are liking it. And, it's just such a great, the organization is so fantastic, so phenomenal for kind of current players, past players. And it's no surprise to me that guys who've been there and they want to help out and want to build something. So a guy like DePenta, it doesn't surprise me at all that he wants to put his hand up to build something like that. It doesn't surprise me one bit.
So would you be down for a current versus former Mooseheads game?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'll definitely try.
It's something that the team's been talking, or that the fans have been talking about, and former Mooseheads have been talking about. And I think it was Metcalf who said, I don't know how good I'd fare against the boys now, but he would love to give it a try as well.
Yeah.
No. Sorry. Frog in my throat or something. That's crazy. Now, you mentioned that you had a funny story, and before we start the interview, I was like, no, don't save it for the interview. So let's hear this, man. Like, I want to hear the funny story.
Yeah. So, quick background was, you had mentioned, doing a little bit of research where you saw that I'd scored some big goals, and
clutch
like
player.
I said,
clutch player, man. Like every clip I found of this man was a clutch goal in overtime. It's crazy.
Yeah. So again, I didn't score a ton of goals, but that year I scored a couple overtime winners or a shootout winner. But the funny part is during the regular season, I scored one goal that year. And, I think it was around Christmas time. So, or November. So you're kind of getting into the dog days of the season. And I hadn't scored yet. So we were in Rouen. It was the last day of a long road trip. And, after the first period, the game was 4-4. And then after the second period, the game was 9-4 for us. Like we just had started running away with it. Ellers, I think, had 9 points or something insane like that. Anyway, then the score goes something like 10-5, 11-5, 12-5, 13-5. I have 0 points in this game. I was on the ice for a lot of goals. I think it was +7 or something like that. But I had 0 points. So then we're shorthanded, and I think it's a 4-on-3. Obviously, a game like that is total Donnybrook. So it's a 4-on-3, and we just don't have that many guys left on the bench. A lot of guys were kicked out or whatever. So it's myself, Timo Meyer, and Nick Ellers. We're on the ice, and we had scored a shorthanded goal, and I got an assist. My first point in a 14-5 game. And then my first goal that year, and only goal of the season, was this. We dropped the puck, same guys, me, Timo, and Nick on the ice. We go down, and it's a 3-on-1, and they pass me the puck. And so I put it in wide open net, 15-5. There's two minutes left on the clock. It's the 15th goal in a 15-5 game. So of course I turn around, and obviously it's my first goal, right? But I turn around. You can't celebrate like that. We're in Rouen too, rowdy crowd. What do? I turn around, and what do I see? I see both Nick and Timo jumping up and down. Ellers is pulling the puck out of the net to first goal, and I just started thinking, oh god, man. So yeah, I had a couple clutch goals, but that's also probably maybe in Moose history the most irrelevant first goal of all time.
That's funny. Did you see Rooster's goal?
Yeah.
Did you see Rooster's goal?
I haven't. No.
So Russo, I believe it was in November, scored an empty.
Oh yes, I did the goalie goal. Yeah.
So it's funny.
Yeah, I saw the big Sally too going through the bench. That's right.
he did an interview, or he was in the locker room afterwards, and he was getting his puck, and he says, "Thanks, guys, on the road to 100."
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He's got a couple left to catch Dumas there to catch him, but yeah, no, it's that was funny.
Yeah, we had Benny on right after Dumas scored the winning, or sort of broke the points record. One hell of a guy.
Yeah.
One hell of a guy.
Yeah. Fantastic. Again, just a great ambassador to the team. Like, he was still involved in kind of the team loosely when I was still playing. He'd come in, talk to the guys about, what it's like to be a Moose. And, when I was working for the team, he was still involved, dropped the puck one day at the Mem Cup, and just an awesome guy. Yeah. Awesome guy.
So let's get back to hockey. How would you describe your play style?
Yeah. So I think, my dad always calls it, kind of being a student of the game. So, I think where my game was, you could call it kind of a two-way defenseman, but, effectively, I just felt that I kind of knew the game, or at least I felt like from a hockey IQ perspective, I kind of understood the game. And then, especially with the Mooseheads, we had such a dynamic team that I knew that, I didn't have to be someone to drive offense or, to do anything like that. So I would say my style was a very kind of two-way, solid defensively, a real heavy focus on kind of stopping the other team's attack and kind of kickstarting our attack, and just making the right plays, and just kind of being that guy a coach can just rely on to have on his D-core, where night in, night out, you'll just kind of perform, you'll get the job done. And so yeah, I would say that was kind of my style, two-way. Again, just you give me the system, you tell me the framework structure you want me to play, and I'll play it. And that was kind of where. And I think, the perfect way to summarize this was going into the playoffs that year. Ducharme had come to me and he says, "Look, Jess, all we really need from you is to just not get scored on. Just when you're on the ice, we don't need you to be out there taking risks. Like, we have guys for that. Just keep getting the pucks to forwards. Don't get scored on. And, if you do that, you're going to give us a chance to win a championship." So that was really kind of my game.
Nice. And you know what? In all honesty, that's my favorite type of player. I love a stay-at-home defenseman. I know you said two-way defenseman, but, in the last video you said Ducharme basically wanted you to stay home, right? And there's nothing more helpful to a team than a strong defenseman. Now, you said that you mentioned your dad in that last question. Is that how you got into hockey?
Yeah, so like many Canadian kids, right? You start by whether it's Timbits hockey or just on the back pond, but I think where that kind of love and passion for the game came from was, spending a lot of time with my dad, just watching hockey, whether Hockey Night in Canada, World Juniors, Olympics. We had watched and watched and watched, and we would talk about the game and we talked about different scenarios, and he got to coach me a little bit when I was a kid, but and then I really just developed a love for the game. I know a lot of kids play street hockey, but I'm not joking you when I tell you this. For probably until when I was 5 up until even when I was like 18, 19, the amount of time that I just spent in the driveway shooting pucks, shooting balls, just imagining winning Stanley Cups. The amount of Stanley Cups I've won in my driveway, I'd have to have my own Hall of Fame, but I really kind of developed that love, and even now, now that kind of my playing days are done, weirdly enough, in Hong Kong, the Hockey Night in Canada games start Sunday morning at 7 a.m. So I've got my alarm on. I wake up and I watch in the morning, and I was trying to watch the World Juniors games, and that passion for me, I definitely think does come from my dad, and just us watching it together and still talking hockey. Even now, we'll call home, and he's a big Habs fan. I'm a big Leafs fan. So
Habs, your dad's a smart man.
Yeah, so
he lost
I think that's
somewhere.
where a lot of that kind of. Yeah, that's right. So I think that's for a lot of the passion team. And then just watching guys and how they handled themselves and how they conducted themselves as well. I think it also taught me a lot about life and how to, I guess just be a good person, watching guys like, Matt Sundin on TV and them in interviews. And so I did a lot of kind of learning, through the game of hockey as a kid. And obviously that progressed kind of throughout the rest of my life.
So I'm also going to ask you, when you're in that driveway and you were playing and imagining yourself, who were you? Were you yourself, or did you pick a player and be like, so-and-so skates down the ice?
I think a lot of times was, I was a big Leafs fan. So I was Matt Sundin a lot, was my guy. And then, like most kids, especially in Nova Scotia, Sidney Crosby was obviously a huge, huge idol for me. And luckily enough, I got to play with him a few times in the summer during his kind of training camps, which is a surreal experience for me.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then again, a lot of times it was just, kid with a stick and a ball just by yourself. I used to have all my kind of garbage cans set up, and I'd put a little stick in the handle. It's kind of mock a defenseman or whatever. And yeah, so I spent countless hours, out there, and I look back fondly on that.
So where he grew up is actually a stone's throw away from where I live now. Like I could literally chuck a rock and hit his old house, right?
Oh wow, yeah.
So it doesn't matter what team you like in the NHL. If you live in Cole Harbour, your second favorite team, if not your first, is the Penguins. Right? It's just the way it is. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
So I gotta...
absolutely. So if it's not gonna be the Leafs, I wanted the Penguins for sure. Still want them this year to win it. I want them to win another one.
So I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions, and then I'll thank you for your time because you've been more than generous with it. Do you have any words for present or future Moosehead players?
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of funny. Like I remember being there, and then you'd get kind of these messages from former alumni, and you're kind of sitting there being like, all right, whatever. But the message was kind of always the same, and it was absolutely right. And it was always, guys, like this moment or this time that you spend with this franchise, with this club. When you're sitting here, I'll be 30 next year. I look back on that time, the locker room, the road trips, the time, and whether it's, doing the sick kids visits, hanging out with your teammates, going to movies, pushing curfew every now and then. Not to say I would recommend that, but these are the times that you will remember for the rest of your life. And you're lucky enough to be doing it in an organization that's really unlike anything else, not just as a hockey franchise, but just an organization in general. To get to a fan base that is so passionate, so awesome, it's and then to experience that not just for yourself, but to allow your family to go in and get to watch those games. This is something that you and your family, whether you do go on to have an amazing NHL career or go to university, or if this is kind of the end, these are the moments that you will remember. And if my bit of advice is, it seems like the team this year is about to get ready for a big playoff run. Take a second in those big moments, those big games where the crowd's super noisy, it's 2-2, 10 minutes left in the third. Just take a second to look around, feel where you kind of are, like just enjoy that second and enjoy that moment. I still remember the noise. I still remember, the crowd getting going. Obviously we lost in that game 7. I still remember it. Like, can remember the smells, the taste. Like, I remember my parents were sitting in the crowd. Like, all of it. You're gonna remember it forever. So just put everything you have into it. Really enjoy it. Take the time. Don't wish that time away. Don't just be wishing, okay, what's coming next, or where am I going to end up next year, or where am I going to play with my career. Just really take that time to enjoy it and make the most of it.
That's amazing. I love that. And I have heard that that a very similar pitch before. You're right. It's literally just soak it in. That's what everybody said so far, and I love that you guys are all on the same plane with that. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans or organization?
Yeah. Look, from an organization point of view, my time with the Mooseheads has really had, like I said earlier, had a significant impact on my life. It helped me with school. It helped me get a scholarship. All of that kind of stuff. And then even after I when I graduated uni, I mean, Bobby Smith, I remember calling him saying, I'm looking for some work. Can you help me? Introduce me to some people. And he picked up the phone and we spoke for an hour and he introduced me to a bunch of people. And the organization just takes such good care of their players. So I know there's a new ownership group in there now, but I guess to the organization, I would say just a tremendous thank you, for helping me, be on the path and live the life that I'm living now. I think if I can see a version of myself without the Mooseheads, and it certainly wouldn't be this. So that, for one, I would just say is from the bottom of my heart, tremendous thank you. And then to the fans, just it was going there, 19. Obviously you're a bit older in terms of junior, but I was still just a kid, and here I was in a town and that just looked out for their players. And I mean, whether it was going to the local diner, the guys would look after you there, and just in the crowd, just people really wanted to see succeed. And I really felt it, I think, after I finished playing, where people would just be checking in. It's nice to hear that people are asking me for your show, but it's just this tremendous fan base and tremendous group. And if I could say anything to them, it's just there's going to be more and more new kids coming through. Just continue to do what you do best and make those kids feel special. And hopefully you can win some more championships and have some big moments. But
Yes, sir.
again, and then to my billets, the billets I live with too. They're fans, but they're also like, that was my family when I was there. So it's it really is the whole town holds such a special place in my heart.
That's awesome. And we've spoken about billets before. The Q really does an amazing job with vetting their billets. I know a few of them, and they're honestly the sweetest people you'll ever meet in your life. Right.
Yeah. I mean, like my billet family, my billet experience. I had 2 different billets when I was there. Both families were just amazing. We still touch base every now and then, check in. Their kids are now going to, whether it's college or they're starting to work, and they were all young when I was there. So just checking in on the parents, they're checking in on me. Again, I think people who don't know about junior hockey, I don't think they understand the bond and just the how amazing billet families are and what they do for kids. And think about it, as parents, I mean, you've got 2 boys yourself, 2 kids yourself. Like, imagine one day when you're sending them off to a different family. You're putting a lot of faith in those. You have 3 kids, so imagine one day when you're sending them off, you're putting a lot of faith and trust in that family to kind of look after your son, your daughter. So it really is amazing. And honestly, they do it out of the goodness of their hearts. They're definitely not making much money off it. I think I ate my billets out of house when I was there. So it really is awesome.
That's awesome, man. Listen, Jesse, I want to thank you again for coming on the show and talking to Moose Country once again. I know there's fans out there that are going to appreciate it, and we wish you nothing but the best. And if you're ever in town, you better not leave without stopping by the Scotiabank Center.
100%. Well, good luck the rest of the year. I really appreciate you bringing me on, and enjoy this season. It looks like it's going to be a good one going into the playoffs. So we'll be watching here from Hong Kong. Don't you worry.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jesse. Take care of yourself.
Okay, guys.
I hope you're all healthy, safe, and happy out there. And as always, go Moose, go. That's awesome. Jesse, man, thank you so very much.